that show ended on a nice note.
I don't remember the ending.
It was a good note. The one show that ended terribly and it mars its memory is How I Met Your Mother.
Oh yeah, I never have watched the show. I started watching it, but never got into it.
You want to know what? My favorite analogy. How I Met Your Mother is the law-abiding citizens. Style like citizens of TV shows. It is terrible ending. Great show. Bad ending. Ooh, brutal.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
All right. So let's switch it up.
Are we spinning the wheel?
Well, no. We got to do our Mount Rushmore.
Oh, our Mount Rushmore. Sorry, yeah.
Jeez, man.
Oh, this was a Mount Rushmore of sports villains, correct?
Yes, and here.
Yeah, I didn't have to do much for this.
Here we go. All right. Mount Rushmore of bad, evil or hated athletes. It was actually harder for me than I thought it was going to be. Because there's characters, people that I hate, athletes that I hate, but not because I hate the person. It's like I hate what happened because of the person, or there's issues with, like, there's one thing that changed my viewpoint on this athlete. And like, so it was actually very tough for me to kind of wrap this up and make it like a tight little Mount Rushmore. I was having a difficult time, difficult time. And the guy who I was going to have, Abraham Lincoln, I ended up changing and making him a more prominent role. Just because the more I thought about it, the more angry I got.
Yeah.
And one of the people I thought was going to be on it didn't get on it, which I was also pretty shocked about. So that is we'll just call it there. And I'm surprised I didn't have any like general managers or anything like that on there at all.
Okay.
I was surprised. Yep. I have one guy on there. I'm sure he's a lovely guy, but I dislike him so much because of what he did.
Okay.
And it's not even his fault. But it's just what he stands for.
Okay.
in my head. And that's it.
Okay.
And what happened because of him?
I only have I have an honorable mention.
I have a couple honorable mentions.
And
I think that you're going to be, you might not be shocked. I know I've talked about how I dislike.
We should, we got to figure out a way. We got to figure out a president to like align with our honorable mentions. Could it be like a JFK or a Ronald Reagan or something? I don't know. We got to figure out an icon for the honorable mention. Who's the guy who didn't quite make Mount Rushmore?
Oh gosh. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. That's a tough one. Donald Trump keeps saying that he should be on there.
Oh, for Christ's sake. Please, let's not bring his name up today of all days, huh?
Seriously. Oh yeah, my bad. We'll erase that back.
Yes.
Cut that out.
Cut that out.
All right. So we'll start off with our Abraham Lincoln as usual.
Sure.
And why don't you start off? Why don't you start off with who your Abraham Lincoln is for
the 2017 Houston Astros?
The whole team.
The whole fucking team. Yeah, the whole team.
Wow.
The whole team. I mean, if you want to put a face on it, I guess it's Altuve. But ultimately, it's that whole team. It's that 2017 Astros team, because it didn't just have repercussions in 1 year where they did actually win a World Series, but it had repercussions in years after where this shit was still going on for at least 2 more years after it. So it's the team as a whole. It started in 2017, we think, but it really went on for a few years in total. They bounced the Yankees in the playoffs a couple times, and they may or may not have been utilizing this same, garbage pail banging, technique that they were using to win games and to cheat their way into a championship and into long postseason runs in following years. But it's not just the cheating. the cheating part of it you can almost kind of deal with because cheating has been going on in sports for centuries. It's not that. It's the brazen, brash, abrasive nature of which they have not only did it, but then defended it. And their fan base is just putrid. Understandable in the sense that prior to 2017, the Houston Astros had won exactly dick. So it's pretty easy to understand why their fans defend it so harshly and just brush it off. Because without that championship, they have nothing. They have nothing. They've got Nolan Ryan, and that's about it. It's not a franchise prior to 2017 with any winning established history. This isn't the Yankees with 27 championships, or the Red Sox with 11 or whatever. It's or the Cardinals or the Dodgers with all their championships. It's nothing. Mm-hmm. It's nothing. There's not I'm sorry. The legacy prior to that is, okay, well, we've had some great players here and there, but we've never won anything. So I can understand from a fan perspective why. But what's disturbing is the players not being contrite. There was zero contrition from players. Justin Verlander was kind of the face of that. Altuve and Carlos Correa are very much there. I have changed my opinion about a lot of guys that I used to love from that team, specifically George Springer. I will never look at that guy the same. Never. He was part of it. He was part of a culture. And that's why I have to put the team on the list because it can't just be an individual player. The whole team participated in this. By the way, that is a precursor of other things to come too. So I can't put just a team. I can't put just one guy because basically everybody who hit in that lineup is an accessory. Okay. The team committed murder and the sum of the parts is an accessory to it. Okay. They're all an accessory, whether it's Altuve, whether it's Correa, whether it's Springer, whether any of them, Bregman. Oh God, that little prick. I mean, all of them. They're all an accessory to that scandal, and it's an ugly scandal, man. And I will tell you that they got off very, very, very easily in this whole thing. AJ Hinch is back in baseball. Cora's back managing the Red Sox. Mm-hmm. I mean, he got 1 year. He got like a 1 year breather, and then he's the Red Sox coach again. That's another discussion for another day, whether or not you think Boston should have done that. I don't, but whatever. That was their call. And listen, I'm not saying that the guys, they served their sentence, but I think, so in that sense, okay, they served their sentence, they're back in the game, that's fine. I don't want to be old man yelling at a cloud here, but the truth is that the sentence should have been harsher. And I think you would probably agree with that. I think the sentence should have been harsher for what they did, which was a very elaborate, albeit basic scheme. I mean, banging, really it was like a half and half, right? It was like a half old school technique and it was a half like new age, right? I mean, you use technology in terms of like laptops and cameras, but then you were literally banging a drum. You're banging a garbage can to relay the signal to the player. But then there may have also been microphones and there's just a lot of stuff we don't know about. Yeah. I think that we will probably never know about. I mean, to me, there should be like a commission on this. But if we can't get a January 6th insurrection commission, then I don't think we're going to get a commission on the Astros cheating. But the Astros are definitely on the list for me. They're my Abraham Lincoln of sports villains. The 2017 Houston Astros.
Wow. All right.
And if you want to say 2017 through 2019, you may. It's fine. Perfectly acceptable.
Pretty much same team. So
yes.
All right. For me, my Abraham Lincoln is a guy who I really just can't stand, and I talk about it all the time, and he actually played for my team. And that is...
Oh, gotta be A-Rod.
Nope. Russell Westbrook.
Okay.
I cannot stand him. I can't stand his attitude. I can't stand the way he plays basketball. I can't stand everything in general. His cockiness, everything about what he stands for in sports is absolutely aggravating to me to no end. I think he's a very talented player. Unfortunately, I find him incredibly annoying. I find him incredibly toxic to his team. And
that's a good word. That's a good word for him. Toxic.
And I just can't stand him. So therefore, I know a lot of people love him. I am not one. And Russell Westbrook is the Abraham Lincoln for me. And I never think that I don't think he's ever going to win a championship because of the toxic nature that follows him around.
I would agree with that.
All right.
It's a good poll. It's a good poll.
Thank you. Let's get into our Theo. Let's play a little music in the background too for this. We gotta get a little there we go. Yeah.
Good. It's a good beat.
All right. Theo. Who you got for Theo?
Big phony himself, David Ortiz. There was zero. There's that cutie again. There is no way I could not put this guy on my list. Now, it's not just David Ortiz is not just the villain for me in the sense of the PED scandal. And I know that there are arguments as to whether or not you actually think David Ortiz took PEDs. I am obviously firmly in the camp that he did. It's not just the drug part of it. That's only part of the story with David Ortiz. The cheating part of it. The other side of it is just, of course, the fact that for me, he's a personal villain because he wreaked so much havoc on the Yankees. He's the reason why 2004 happened, basically. Mm-hmm. The guy who took Mariano Rivera deep, a couple times and really changed the course of the Red Sox history and turned them from, clown show losers into perennial winners. He started a lot of the if you want to call it the earth kind of turning on its axis here for Yankee fans, because there was a century of the Yankees just owning Boston. And then it turned on a dime in 2004. And so David Ortiz represents a lot of bad memories and a lot of negative energy for me. And so he is my, this is Theodore, right?
Yeah.
Theodore Roosevelt. Yeah. He's my Theo Roosevelt, partially cheating, partially just because he wreaked so much fucking havoc on the Yankees.
All right. Okay. So my Theo is a guy who I just have a bad taste in my mouth because of what he did to my Buffalo Bills. This is a guy who there was a guy who came back from the depths and was looking so good and brought this team back to the playoffs. But there was this young stud that was supposed to come in and be better and do better. And they just decided, oh, you made the playoffs? Let's throw you in there. That is Jonathan Paul Lossman. JP Lossman.
Oh, God. JP Lossman.
Yeah.
Wow.
I can't stand that guy because he took Doug Flutie out of the starting lineup. Not because he was better. The team thought he was better.
Because he was younger.
They thought he was younger, and he was gonna give them a better chance to win. And he was going to give them a better chance to win, and he was the future.
JP Lossman.
And this is after Doug Flutie plays the whole season and gets them to the playoffs. But this guy is going to give you a better chance to win. Oh my God. I never disliked a quarterback so much for no reason other than the fact that my team thought that he was the better option. And I was in love with Doug Flutie at that time. Everybody, the whole NFL league, the whole league was in love with Flutie at that time because he came back and he was doing his Flutie magic.
Yeah.
He came back and he did something that they didn't think that he could do. He left the Canadian Football League, where he was a super stud, and came and played in the NFL. Proved that he could play in the NFL.
Yep.
And then they got to the playoffs and they took him out of the lineup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
So mad. And that's why I can't stand Jonathan Paul Lossman.
That's your Buffalo Bills. You fucked up. You trusted us.
Yes,
moment.
exactly. Well, I got a couple clips here. I don't know what they are because it doesn't say.
I would not have thought JP Losman would have made these lists. If I had to bet money on it, I would not have bet on that. But that's good. This is a revelation. I did not know this about you today. So.
Yeah. So
this is one of those you learn something new every day kind of moments for me.
Yep. Hold on one second. Now let me see. I got a couple of clips here, and I want to see what they are.
Obviously, the group you started.
Nope.
Obviously, the group you started with in the second half.
I don't know who that is, but I put it David Ortiz in here, and that came up. So I didn't know if it was I had a David Ortiz clip from you. So I was just gonna see if I had it, but didn't seem to
That's
have
all right.
anything.
I don't want to revisit too much more of this anyway. So,
all right, let's get to TJ, Tommy J.
So here's another baseball player, and this is just this won't shock you. I don't think any of my list will shock you at all. You pretty much know the guys I hate. Jose Bautista. He's just been a villain for me from the beginning. I've just never liked him. He's just, sometimes you just hate people.
Yeah.
And there's almost no rhyme or reason for it. You
Jose
just
Bautista
don't like people. And Jose Bautista is that guy for me. Because
does he still follow you?
He didn't follow me. He responded once to me.
No, he was following you.
Oh, I don't. Does he?
Yeah, I don't know. He used to.
Hold on, I need to check that because that actually really would be absolutely hilarious.
He was at one point.
He did. Hold on. Let me see. Jose.
But he followed like 9 billion people.
Batista. I don't even see him on.
Maybe you left Twitter.
Maybe he did
because he's no longer.
He might. He might have followed me at one point.
He did.
Okay.
I'm like 99% sure.
Okay. I mean, I know he responded to me on Twitter, but yes, maybe he did, which is really the ultimate irony, right? Yeah, he's just one of those guys, and I've had guys, celebrities, and athletes where I've initially disliked them, but then grown to love them. Two that come to mind are MJ, Michael Jordan, and Leonardo DiCaprio, were guys that I, for whatever reason, just initially hated in their professions and then grew to love for different reasons.
Yeah.
I've never come off of disliking Jose Bautista.
I'm the same way with MJ.
Yeah, I have never, ever.
I am slightly like that with Tiger too. Slightly. I don't have the admiration that I did for Michael Jordan as his second time with the Bulls.
Yeah. I
really was like, wow, this guy's like, he's next level.
For Bautista, what it mostly comes down to for me is just the arrogance, the way he played the game.
Yeah.
I'm more of an old school guy. I'm more Thurman Munson than I am, the modern day kind of player, a little more reserved and ultra competitive. And, I'm not one of those guys who likes, if a guy, like if, say like a Xander Bogaerts or a Rafael Devers or, a JD Martinez draws a walk or gets a hit, goes to first base and starts chit-chatting with Luke Voigt. I don't like that shit. Yeah. I don't. I think those guys should want to fucking kill each other. That's just the way I approach sports. I know it's old school. I know it's old man yelling at cloud. I don't care. That's just the way I've always sort of, even when I played, I didn't do, and I never played any level of significant competition, but even just playing in Little League and Babe Ruth and, even just I don't really want to count intramural college baseball as anything, but at any level, I don't remember going to first base and then talking it up with a first base.
I hate you.
I didn't do that either. I just didn't feel the need to talk to them because I was just like, I'm the guy you're the guy I'm trying to beat.
Right.
And, I know it's different now. These guys are all millionaires. That level of competition isn't what it was, because you have to remember the thing about the 50s and the 60s and even to some extent the 70s. Those guys really didn't like each other because you were fighting for food on the table. A lot of those guys, especially in the 50s and 60s, man, when they left that, they had an actual job to go to also, or they were fighting in wars.
Right.
Joe DiMaggio and Ted Williams. Honestly, yes, they will be known for being some of the greatest baseball players ever. They should be known for being American heroes.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they should actually be known for, especially on a day like today when we have this sort of remembrance.
Yeah.
So it was a different time. And I understand all that. But Jose Bautista just represents to me maybe like one of like the pioneers of this arrogant era of players. And I'm more understanding and tolerant of it now. And I get it. I get that's sort of the way that the game is going.
Yeah.
I will tell you that the other day when Fernando Tatis hit a 3-run homer, I think in the 9th inning off of the Astros to put the Padres in the lead, and he lollygagged the shit out of that. He enjoyed every second of it. And I enjoyed it too, because it was the Astros that he was doing it to.
Right.
And I think the Astros deserve every negative thing that comes their way from now until fucking eternity. I don't care. They listen, they made that bed there. They need to sleep in it for as long as fans want to continue to dish it out to them. And do I think it was classy that 10 to 15,000 Yankee fans chanted fuck Altuve for like an entire series and have actually been doing it in series where the Astros aren't even there in the Bronx? Do I think that's great? Yeah, I really do. But yeah, Jose Bautista he's just a guy that always rubbed me the wrong way. I don't know what it was. He was a really good player, a really good player.
For a while, yeah.
You know, yeah, he had some good years. And he did torture the Yankees in some of those years. That's probably also part of the villain, end of it too. So yeah, he's on that list. He made the Final Four. He's just a guy that he's one of those guys that a villain in every sense. I hated him. I didn't respect him, and I still can't stand him. At least I have a modicum of respect for David Ortiz. Very small amount, but more than I had for Batista.
Okay.
But I still hate Ortiz more just because of the torture of 2004. Really.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. My Thomas Jefferson is a man who I have had a couple of rants from time to time over the course of this podcast, this show. I couldn't find any on my laptop. I'm sure I have some on my desktop here, but it's a guy who has continuously shot himself in the foot. And it's a guy that you like, and I think want in the Hall of Fame, and that is Pete Rose.
Okay. Like him, no. Want him in the Hall of Fame, yes.
I think that he is.
I think he's a hard guy to like.
He is an absolute travesty. He is horrible for baseball. He's a horrible human. And
I don't disagree with any of what you're saying so far.
And he is extremely unlikable.
Also true.
I really, really dislike this guy. When Fox brought him on to have him, be there as a color commentator, kind of in the background, like when they did in between.
Bad idea.
He was started off pretty good, but quickly went downhill
deteriorated.
And then got fired.
Yes, he did.
Because of the stuff that he said. And he is just an absolute moron and can't figure out a way to get out of his own way. I can't stand the guy. I hope that he is abolished from baseball forever. And yeah, I mean, people might say that about Barry Bonds and Jose Canseco and all that kind of stuff. Like the things that they did, Rafael Palmeiro, Mark McGwire, all these people. I think Mark McGwire's kind of turned himself around and made himself kind of a good guy and given back to the game. So like, I think that you could probably, but like, whereas Pete Rose, who all he had to do was apologize.
Yes, he couldn't do it.
Look the guy in the eye and say, I'm sorry, I was wrong. I will never do it again.
Yep. He couldn't do it.
And he would have been in the Hall of Fame.
Pride. Yep.
And then you would be able to go to card shows and all that kind of stuff. And and he'd be a much more respect. But instead, he did that, which led to further drinking, which led to further drug problems probably. And he continues with his gambling issues as well, and never, ever gets help for it. And it's like, I know addiction is a big time problem. But the problem is that I have with Pete Rose is that he's been given chance after chance after chance and seems to like to put himself under the 8 ball here, literally and figuratively. And I I don't want him to be on TV. I don't want baseball. Like I said, I have said many, many times in the past, I would love for the Baseball Hall of Fame to have a wing that is dedicated to the scumbags. And that is someone like Pete Rose and have his hits. He's not
Bonds
in here because
yes, right.
this. And this is why nobody is honoring him. The
controversial wing of the Hall of Fame.
Exactly. Yeah, Barry Bonds. He's not in the Hall of Fame. He was an extremely talented athlete because this. You know, a Mark McGwire, a Jose Canseco, all these people. And you could actually make a case for Jose Canseco to be in the Hall of Fame because of the light that he shined on all of the steroid issue. And you could make a case because he broke down that wall. Whether he's a snitch or not, you could say he was the reporter that broke it down because none of the reporters were doing it.
I don't mind the snitch part, but he was also part of the culture.
Well, yeah, but he still had to do it. He had to throw himself under the bus, you know,
like Mike Fiers is the guy that got the whole Astros thing going. He was the guy that broke down that wall. And some people look at him as a snitch and some people like me think of him as a fucking hero. Right. I don't know about a hero, but you know, a guy who did the right thing.
Right. And that's the thing. You could make more of a case for someone like Canseco than I think you can someone like Clemens or, you know, and these guys that ruined their careers because
Here's the other thing, though, to remember. The other thing, though, you have to think about is why did Canseco do it? Did he do it because he had this overwhelming guilt? No, he did it to sell a book.
Yeah. Well, but he still did it when nobody else was.
It just was, he did it for his own personal gain. Right. There wasn't, but like Mike
I'm not
Fiers
saying it's not.
Like Mike Fiers had nothing to gain from that. He wasn't writing a book. He wasn't, he was part of something that he didn't like being part of. Right. And he was like, I can't live with this shit.
But he was out of baseball. He was blackballed from baseball. So this is the only way to make money anymore.
Whatever. I mean, yeah. Well, you talk about Canseco?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That was the only way for him to make money because he was blackballed at that point.
Yeah.
So
he was still a dickhead.
Oh, he is. He's absolutely.
He's a dick.
He is. I agree.
I've never liked him. I don't know. Listen, I don't like Pete Rose. I had never wanted Ichiro. I wanted Ichiro to break his record so bad. He's a poster child for tragedy. That's what he is. Yeah. He's a poster child for a comedy of errors, quite frankly, because he's just brought it all on himself time after time. And to your point, he has, and that's why he's. I am all for second chances. And at times even third chances. But for me, when it comes to Pete Rose, he's been given like 40. I do put some pun intended rose-colored goggles on here with him because I see the way he played the game, and I try to remember that part. But that's you're looking at it in a vacuum, which you can't do because you have to take in the whole picture. You have to see the forest for the trees with a guy like Pete Rose, and the forest is really fucking big and a real big mess. I mean, you could say that about Ty Cobb too. Like he was a great guy, but super racist and potentially killed a man. Yeah, I mean, Ty Cobb is. No, there's no rose-colored glasses for him. But he was the way he played the game. Like yes, I understand. He was a great hitter, but the racism part, I mean, sorry. No, there's nothing Pete Rose did that could equal. You can't, it's hard to match. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Pete Rose has kind of let a few things slip, and it seems like he might be a little racist. All right. I don't know. Maybe you're right. I haven't delved that much into the Pete Rose character and the psyche and his background, but that could be very true. Yeah. I don't know about his feelings on that kind of thing. I mean, you know what you know about Ty Cobb. Yeah, no, he's not a lovable guy. He's not easily defensible. I mean, I have an autographed baseball from him, and the only reason I bought it is because he inscribed on it, "I'm sorry I bet on baseball." Pete Rose. Yeah. I actually bought it more as like a commemorative comic piece of memorabilia. Yeah. It's funny. Like I thought it was funny when I walked down there. When I walked down the base and I saw it, I was like, "That's hilarious." You saw it, right? Like, I'm sorry, I bet on baseball. It's pretty funny. That's hilarious. Like that's why I bought it. I was like, "Wow, like this is like a." But he's not. The thing that's crazy is he's sorry. He's not sorry. Like that's really what it comes down. No, I know it. Because he did that to make money. He's sorry, as my wife would always say. He's sorry he got caught. Yeah. That's what he's sorry about. That's a lot of these steroids. He's sorry he got nailed. He's not sorry. All right, so let's get to the George Washington. Who's your G-dubs? Oh, please, come on. And I set the stage for this before when we talked
It starts
about Lincoln.
with a little bit of like,
If Patriots fans were pizzas, they'd be cocksucker supremes.
but it ultimately ends with this guy.
Anytime Tom Brady walks on a field, you are well within your right to throw a big floppy on that field.
Do you remember that?
Well, yes, I do. That's actually my favorite one. More so than the pizza one. They're close. They're close.
Yeah.
They would be like my would be like my Washington and Lincoln of drops.
Yeah.
But bookended, right? But this may surprise you though.
Bill Belichick is going to be Belichick.
Similar to the Astros. I'm going with the team. I'm going with the franchise because this.
So it is
if Patriots fans were pizzas,
So it'd be the whole Patriots.
Supremes.
The whole Patriots.
Yes, it is. It is the just the New England Patriots organization and in general.
Yeah.
They are everything that is wrong with professional sports. And they have stood the test of time with that moniker and that label and that identifier for 20 years.
Uh-huh.
And unfortunately, there's not a lot of people who have my ability and degree of holding on to hate. I can grasp hate for a long time. And not only can I grasp it, but I can actually, it can grow. It gets nurtured on its own.
Uh-huh.
Like I can fertilize my own hate over time and make it grow bigger and stronger. Not like for most people, time heals wounds.
Yeah.
For me, it opens them more. And I just have this, and maybe it's a character flaw. I just have this innate ability to hold on to anger and hate longer than I think the average person does. To the point where I look at the Patriots now and I hate them even more than at the time this shit was all happening. That at the time that Eric Mangini pulled back the curtain and exposed this Patriots organization for what they were.
Snitch.
And he was a snitch, and he's a kind of a dick too. Like, first of all, he was part of it.
He's a little arrogant.
So, yeah, he was part of it though. He was part of it.
Yeah.
And that's the other reason why to me, it's not just a guy. It's not just Belichick. It's not just Brady. It's a whole team, because the whole team they all knew what was going on. You were part of something. You were part of an entire culture here. And this wasn't unlike the Astros, which maybe had gone on for 3 years. This went on for literally decades. You had so many different Patriot scandals. I mean, it started with Spygate, and it didn't end with Deflategate. There were others in between. You had the whole Tom Brady cell phone thing. I mean, there are so many examples. I mean, just Google Patriots cheating, and like the amount of shit and information that you come up with. I mean, there have been and there will be books written on this stuff.
Probably.
They are public enemy number one as far as I'm concerned when it comes to sports villains. And what makes them more villainous than anything is they've won a ton of championships, and they've won it with a fan base that could not care less. I have very rarely, if ever, met a Patriot fan who has shown any remorse or contrition over this. All they want to do is throw those 6 championship rings at you and say, fuck you, fuck your hate, fuck your feelings. I've got 6 rings and you're a Dolphins fan and you haven't seen shit. Which, I mean, you know, if you're going to handle it, that's probably the way to go about it, right? And it's made me wonder, like, should I, like, I mean, I know that the Yankees, there were a number of Yankees who were probably on steroids even during those dynasty years.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I wonder, should I not have any contrition over that and say that, well, yeah, you know, some of those championships, like a lot of others in baseball, I mean, those Red Sox championships with Ortiz and Ramirez, they have asterisks next to them, and so do some of these Yankees ones. It's just the way it is. There were players on those teams that were juicing. Clemens, my goodness, I mean, my God, he's the face of all of that. That was an A-Rod, you know, both of those guys. And there were lesser guys too that were also included in that. in some of those Yankee teams, guys like Mike Stanton, the reliever, not Giancarlo Stanton. David Justice was, a guy that was pegged, even though he's vehemently denied it even to the day. But nothing to me stands the test of time like this Patriot team and the things that they did and the fact that the head of the snake is still there. Bill Belichick is still there, still helming that team, and he is revered in New England. He is a god up here. Mm-hmm. This is a tough place to live and hate the Patriots. What's ironic about that, and I've told you this before, growing up, New Englander my whole life, Connecticut resident my whole life, gone to Connecticut schools, I can tell you that prior to 2001, before the Patriots had done fucking anything, and this too, you and I have grown, went to high school in the same time, grew up in the same era. And I love this example because when you went to school and when I went to school, everybody was wearing starter jackets, right? Mm-hmm. Starter jackets were the fucking rage, man. Everyone had them. I'm sure you had a Buffalo Bills one. I had multiple Miami
Dolphins. I did have
Dolphin
a Buffalo Bills one, actually.
And let me tell you, as a young fan, as a young kid,
I actually had, I had like the big, huge, puffy one.
Yeah.
I had one. That was the Buffalo Bills one. Yep, that was for the winter time. But for like the fall and the spring, I actually had a Chicago Bulls and a Boston Celtics one.
Okay. Yeah, sure. So if
like the shiny ones, the shiny.
I had one of those. Sticking to football, I had so many. Sticking to football, strictly football. The most prominent ones that I would always see in school. Again, keep in mind, living here in New England, Bears, Dolphins, Cowboys, 49ers, Packers, a little bit. Just because there was a fucking Buffalo Bills fan who used to torture me all the time, I saw Bills ones occasionally. Yeah. I never, and I mean fucking never saw a Pat the Patriot New England Patriots starter jacket in my entire fucking life. In fact, I'm not even sure that Starter produced them. I might actually have to see one to believe that they were actually ever on a rack somewhere.
Yeah.
And then these motherfuckers came out of the woodwork when the Patriots started winning Super Bowls. And it started right off the bat. I will never forget this. I know my brother doesn't either. After that first Super Bowl that they won, were the Patriots before you found out anything, were actually really a likable team in 2001 because they were huge underdogs going into that Super Bowl against, the greatest show on turf, the Rams, who were coming off a Super Bowl defense. And the Patriots beat them in what had to be the biggest upset in Super Bowl history since Super Bowl III, since Namath called his shot against the Colts, against Don Shula's Colts. Had to be the biggest upset in Super Bowl history. Had to be by a fucking wide margin. And I remember after that game, and it was very innocent. And I can't find it though. I just remember, but I can't find the actual clip of it anywhere. I've looked for it on YouTube for years. But I just remember them asking Marshall Faulk after that game. And Marshall Faulk was not accusing anyone of anything. But what he said was, hey, it was like they knew, he's like, it was just like they knew what we were going to do.
Yeah.
Like they knew what was coming. He didn't say it in an accusatory manner. He was like, they just read us so
they just
well.
Played a good game.
Here's the deal, Marshall. They fucking did know. They knew every fucking play you were going to run. That's why they won. And they didn't even win. They had to win on a field goal by Adam Vinatieri. It's not like they even won dominantly.
Right.
They knew every fucking play you were going to run in succession, and they still barely beat you because the talent gap was that big. If I'm Marshall Faulk and Kurt Warner, I would hate those motherfuckers until the day I went in the fucking grave. And not only them, but there are other teams that have every right to feel that way. Every right to feel that way about the New England Patriots. You and I should feel this way as Dolphins and Bills fans because who knows what we have been denied in that division? Who knows? Probably the Bills more so than the Dolphins because the Dolphins, quite frankly, just didn't have competitive enough teams that were, that But it is hard to say over the course of 20 years what might have been for other teams in that division who just couldn't have a chance because the Patriots were operating in a certain way for a long time. And I don't want to listen, Tom Brady, his greatness, I don't know. Listen, the fact that he went to Tampa really tells you, though, that a lot of what happened maybe in New England did have something to do with him, because he went there and he was the final piece of the puzzle that Tampa thought. And sure enough, they went and won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So, I don't know that exercises any demons for him and from the cheating side of it. He still was part of what he was part of in New England. For me, it's just always that they are the biggest villains that I will ever see in my lifetime in sports. And it's not even close. It's not even close. The distance between them and the Astros or Ortiz and Bautista is 1.5 miles long. It just couldn't be a greater gap. The fall off between 20 years of tyranny versus anything else that any other team or individual has ever done is astounding. It's just mind-boggling what those guys did for such a long period of time and got away with, and were defended. Mm-hmm. And now it's at the point where they're revered. It's unbelievable to me.
All right. I'm going to get into this a little bit shorter because we've gone on quite a bit. I will, my George Washington is probably very easily known.
I would guess A-Rod just because I haven't heard his name yet.
It is A-Rod, 100%. Okay. Cannot stand the guy. After he cheated multiple times, got caught multiple times, had a hand most likely in bringing Cano and Melky Cabrera and all that kind of.
Yep, dragged them down with him.
All of that stuff really just made me despise the guy. And then on top of that, he tries to put himself out there like he's a good human being. And, right, and he's such, you like to call Big Papi Big Phony. And I think that there is no bigger phony in all of sports than Alex Rodriguez. I think he is the biggest. I think he's a smart baseball player. I think he knows baseball. I think he was a talented athlete.
He was. Didn't need it.
But I think he is a scummy human. And that's what he seems like to me. Hopefully, in the second half of his career, he can come back and redeem himself. But so far, what I've seen, I haven't really loved. So
I'll never warm up to him. If we were to do honorable mentions, and let's just for the sake of it, call it the JFK and the Reagan. Okay. He's one of them. I have Carlos Correa in there. I have Tom Brady. So do I, technically.
Tom Brady is an honorable mention for me. And another one that you are gonna, you might not be shocked because I have gone on off a bit of a tangent on him before, and that is David Wells.
Yeah, I know.
Another guy who has gotten in his own way so many times and
the
walked off the mound because he hurt himself because he couldn't keep himself in shape. And then, just cancels on interviews last minute, leaves people high and dry. And
yeah, he's a dick. My other, so if A-Rod is my Ronald Reagan, then my John F. Kennedy is Lance Armstrong.
There's a lot of people that are like that out there.
What bothers me more about Lance than...
I'm surprised Rafael Palmeiro didn't end up on anybody's list. Straight to the camera.
Well, he pointed his finger at Congress, which is a really fucking that takes some brass balls.
Seriously.
I mean, you could say whatever you want about Rafael Palmeiro, but that guy's balls are so big that they have to ride shotgun when he's driving, because there is no fucking way I would go and point my finger at fucking.
But he's taking steroids, so he can hold them in the cigarette container now.
Yeah, well, that's probably true, right? Ironically, could you imagine lying to Congress?
No,
man, I would struggle with that one.
And that's that's doubling down.
That is right. That's what that's doubling down.
Just a few weeks later, what? I don't know, a month, 2 months. He got tested positive.
Right, exactly. So But Lance Armstrong, what bothers me a lot about him is he threw a lot of people under the bus in addition to, again, the cheating part of it sometimes I can overlook because a lot of people do it. I mean, there's not enough room on any Mount Rushmores to just throw a bunch of cheaters on there. That there's so many guys in sports who have done that. But I like to me, I have to look at the outside impact and the long-term effect. And here, there are two things about Lance Armstrong's that really bothered me and why he would certainly warrant being on this list and in being on the Mount Rushmore in and of itself, because he dragged other guys with him. He hurt a lot of people's reputations. He tore other people down in the process because he was trying to bring people down with him. Mm-hmm. But that's one thing. The second and the biggest one, though, is the message, the wrong message that he sent. He should have been the ultimate symbol of inspiration. A guy who battled testicular cancer and came back to win 7 Tour de France's. And instead, he did it under the most false of pretenses. His message should have been one of inspiration and motivation and perseverance. Mm-hmm. And instead, he will be remembered as a guy whose all of his accomplishments and all of that inspiration that he provided was all a fallacy. It was just a sham. Mm-hmm. You know, he should have been an inspiration for not only cancer survivors, he should have been an inspiration just for people in general. And it all happened under false pretense. And that to me is the biggest crime of Lance Armstrong.
Yeah. There's a lot of guys that are out there that are kind of fall into that boat, but that is a huge one. So
it's big.
All right, let's get it. We're going to wrap this up and we're going to head on over to our
spin that
wheel of destiny. All right, where's that wheel at? All right, here's the wheel. I don't know why I did that. Let's see if I go back now. No, I didn't. I'm a moron. All right, here we go. You see the light all in it? There we go. That's better. All right, ready?
Yeah. I was born ready for the wheel.